Good morning, guys. It's Monan, and I wanted to today I know we're being bombarded with Georgia Guidestone information, but I have been playing a movie for you guys on my Tuesday show. And it basically gets into the whole story of the Georgia Guidestones, and we will finish that this coming Tuesday at 9. If you haven't already seen the video of the Guidestones being blown up, I'll play it again here for you. And I will make it full screen. And then they show this silver car pull up and leave. But that, to me, was some kind of explosive device. And it was really weird how the bang came over here, but all the smoke came out over here. Damage was done over here. And didn't look like it had knocked down all that much of the actual Guidestones themselves. So we're going to get into a little bit of the history of the Guidestones. This is a shorter version of the longer film that I've been showing. And at the same time, I wanted to share something else I discovered with you. So let me figure out what I'm doing here. Okay, so let's start by me figuring out what I'm doing. I found this short that I wanted to play. Let me already put it on full screen before we start for you guys. And wait a minute. Optimize it, make sure I'm sharing, make sure I'm doing that. Full screen we go. Okay, so here we go.
That was the year the world's first.
I thought this was a very concise explanation.
The year was 1979. That was the year the world's first anthrax epidemic occurred in Russia. Saddam Hussein became president of Iraq. China instituted its one-child-per-family policy. And in the small town of Elberton, Georgia, a man who called himself R.c.Christian was about to put the granite capital of the world to work on their biggest project yet. Mr. Christian approached the president of Elberton Granite Finishing Company, Joe Finley, with a seemingly kooky idea for a monument, not to be in memory of a person or an event, but intended to be a guide for the future, with a Stonehenge-like configuration of 6 astronomically aligned slabs.
Now, I have trouble myself remembering the names because there are several names. There's the name of the banker. There's the name of the guy who owns the granite place. And there's several names to remember. So far we have Fenley. And I believe he owns the granite company. In the longer video I play, he is interviewed as well as his son.
Identity of the author of these guides to remain a mystery forever. As the story goes, Finley was understandably hesitant. Some fellow with an obvious pseudonym showed up in his office with a weird idea and claimed to be representing a group of like-minded individuals. Finley knew this project wouldn't be cheap, and so Mr. Christian was then introduced to Wyatt Martin.
Okay, Wyatt Martin is the second name. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up these names is I gotta find the article. But in the making of this other film that I'm going to be showing on Tuesday, there was one guy who started to participate, and I forgot what his role was, but he felt that the man who was sworn to secrecy, which I believe is the banker, was being manipulated by the filmmakers. He didn't like the way the whole thing was going down. So he participated for like 2 or 3 days and then he backed out. but here we go.
President of Granite City Bank, an eventual financial intermediary for the Guidestones project. While Mr. and in the small town,
now we missed the guy's name.
An event, but intended for a monument, not to be in memory of to put the granite capital of the world to work on their biggest project yet. Mr. Christian approached the president of Elberton Granite Finishing Company, Joe Finley, with a seemingly kooky idea for a monument, not to be in memory of a person or an event, but intended to be a guide for the future, with a Stonehenge-like configuration of 6 astronomically aligned slabs, and the identity of the author of these guides to remain a mystery forever. As the story goes, Finley was understandably hesitant. Some fellow with an obvious pseudonym showed up in his office with a weird idea and claimed to be representing a group of like-minded individuals. Finley knew this project wouldn't be cheap, and so Mr. Christian was then introduced to Wyatt Martin.
Wyatt Martin. I keep stopping this and replaying it, and I'm sorry. I think Wyatt Martin is the banker guy who knows the identity of R.c. Martin.
President of Granite City Bank, an eventual financial intermediary for the Guidestones project. While Mr. Christian explained that he chose his pseudonym because of his Christian faith, a real name was required to begin financing the project, making Wyatt Martin the only man involved in the Guidestones to know the true identity of R.c. Christian. The highest point in Elberton County was selected for the monument, a 5-acre plot of farmland where, after being pulled out of the 6-mile-wide quarry and customized to Mr. Christian's exact specifications, the 6 massive pyramid blue granite slabs would eventually rest alongside the time capsule buried 6 feet underground. Charlie Clamp, one of the workers who helped etch Mr. Christian's 10 guides into
Okay, now we have Charlie Clamp.
America's Stonehenge, went on record saying that he heard strange music and disjointed voices as he carved the guides, an account that Clamp's son has been quick to dismiss, stating that those disjointed voices his father heard were frustrated workers, cursing as they chipped away at Elberton's biggest undertaking. Unveiled on March 22nd, 1980, the guide...
Okay, so for those of us who know anything about Freemasonry, 322 is a big number for these people. Skull and Bones, 322.
Guidestones not only featured 10 guides of living in multiple languages, the majority of which were reportedly translated by the United Nations, but the monument itself served as a guide for multiple purposes, with features that allowed the stones to be utilized as both a clock and a calendar, as detailed on the explanatory tablet beside the stones, also including a description of the sponsors, a curious misspelling of the word pseudonym, and a bit of a twisted teaser indicating a time capsule buried on the plot of land to be...
Now, I think there's too little coverage of this. A couple things I want to take away from it. And we are using this video for educational purposes, but that slab had 2 empty slots that said the date. I want to read what it actually says, and I'm sure we'll get into it at some point. But it said the date that the time capsule would be opened, instructions for the time capsule, which I think it gets into in this film. But I'm not hearing any news anywhere of anybody talking about this slab or the time capsule.
Be opened at a time that has yet to be specified. These guidestones have been a point of outrage ever since their unveiling, due to their support of a one-world government, hinting at state-guided eugenics, and a global language like that which existed under King Nimrod during the construction of the Tower of Babel. In addition to their controversial message, rumors have swirled about the sponsors, though reportedly one of the terms upon the monument's completion was that the builders destroyed the letters and records of Mr. Christian, so that no trace of the sponsors may ever be known. The secrecy has only fueled curiosity and speculation, and over the decades, fingers have been pointed at individuals like media mogul, CNN founder, and one of North America's largest landowners, Ted Turner, as well as Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard, as being responsible for the Guidestones.
Now, Ted Turner is a name I've heard pop up several times. He's kind of faded into the limelight as he has gotten older, but 10 or 15 years ago, he was kind of like the Bill Gates of the time, he was talking about population control. He was buying up land all throughout the US, um, and was owned the most land in the United States, single owner of land in the US. Don't hear much about him anymore, but I have heard speculation that it was him.
However, as time went on, it appeared that the Guidestones were still very much a work in progress. In 1986, just 6 years after the Guidestones were erected, Common Sense Renewed, yet another nod to deist Thomas Paine, was published by r.c.christian and reportedly distributed to several thousand political officials and shapers of public opinion throughout the world. In this text, Mr. Christian addressed open-minded citizens with a series of essays about looking to common sense to find pathways to peace, claiming that the Guidestones were erected to convey certain ideas across time to others. His main focus in Common Sense Renewed was the need to control human reproduction.
Now, this is going to get into human reproduction like my other one did. It seems to be a focus of a lot of these. But one thing I want to point out, and this is in the other movie too, a lot of the languages used, some of them, are Egyptian, Sanskrit. Some of them are languages that are no longer spoken. And they went to the UN to get the actual words translated. Now, if you, or even if you don't speak several languages, you'll know, or I happen to know, like the Chinese language is a very, very different language than what we speak. It's based upon um, a set of like syllables. I could be completely wrong about this, but words and translations are often done very loosely because there's no exact word in one language to match an exact word in another language, which is why um, I myself sometimes wonder about the translations that have gone on of the Bible and stuff like that, because we're translating from one language into another, and words don't always translate from word to word exactly. But anyway.
He stated that reproduction should no longer be an exclusively personal matter between two individuals due to the world's alleged overpopulation problem. Mr. Christian advocated eugenics and paraded abortion as a lesser evil option amongst other evils, like unfit parents bringing a child into the world. Mr. Christian's philosophy has been criticized as being in direct conflict with what he claims to be, a Christian. Though perhaps the United Nations, who translated Mr. Christian's guides into multiple languages, was a big fan of his essays, because in 1992, the United Nations Agenda 21 was signed by the United States. Agenda 21 is a lengthy document listing goals to be achieved globally, and is the global plan to change the way we live, eat, learn, and communicate, with a hefty focus on sustainable development in an effort to save the environment.
Okay, so the channel I got this from is a channel that is not this girl who made this videos channel. It's a bunch of different videos, but as many of us know, Agenda 21 is now called Agenda 2030.
Sustainable development claims to be concerned with the environment, but there are many indications that this is an agenda to restructure the world's government, making all citizens subject to the global control. More clues that the sponsors haven't abandoned the monument appeared in 2014, when an engraved cube was added to the Guidestones. But not too long after it was added, it was destroyed by the groundskeeper, with pieces of the cube given to filming bystanders.
Okay, now this is a part that people have discounted, have said doesn't make sense. This cube, I thought originally that this cube had always been up there, but this cube appeared on it. It was inscribed MM 1620 8.1. She's going to explain to you what it said on it. So on camera, on an iPhone. They smashed up the cube, handed out pieces to people, with the security guard standing right there. It was very peculiar. And then it was said that the cube ended up being replaced shortly thereafter. So I'm not sure about the whole cube thing. Oh, she doesn't talk much about the cube. Well, if she doesn't, we'll get into it.
So why did Mr. Christian and his shadowy group of sponsors select Elberton, Georgia as the monument's location, and what was their true motivation for this monument? Elbert County is named after Samuel Elbert, a soldier of the American Revolution, governor of Georgia, and admitted Freemason, serving as both a member and Grand Master at 2 different Masonic lodges in Georgia. Elberton is located between Dewey Rose and Sandy Cross, Georgia, 100 miles from Atlanta, the state capital located on the 33rd parallel, in the state where the Federal Reserve came to fruition. The Freemason connection doesn't end there. The monument was built by admitted Freemasons like Joe Finley and his crew. From the astronomical functions to an emphasis on numerology,
Now, I did read in one article that not one person who worked on those tablets was not a Freemason, which I find interesting in one way not. That's what a Mason is, a stone worker originally. But every single person that worked on it was Freemasons, is what I read.
Modern Freemasonry evolved from the guilds of stonemasons of the Middle Ages and is now the largest worldwide fraternal secret society. It's been dubbed Zionism for Gentiles, because if you eliminate the teachings of Judaism from the Masonic ritual, well, there's not a lot left. But more importantly, there is a direct connection between Freemasonry and the ancient Babylonian mystery religions, from which the ancient pagan religions of Egypt, Persia, Greece, and Rome eventually developed. These Freemasons are believers in everything old. They thrive in secret, studying at invisible colleges behind the scenes of ordinary life. And while most Freemasons are low-level Masons who join for social memberships and brotherhood, the reality is there are high-ranking Masonic officials within every level of our government. They are the hidden masters who translate their philosophy into legislation. Furthermore, it's been speculated that the Rosicrucians also had a hand in building the Georgia Guidestones. Rosicrucianism is a worldwide brotherhood claiming to possess esoteric wisdom handed down from ancient times, and is closely linked to Freemasonry. Elberton, being located between Dewey Rose and Sandy Cross, Georgia, as well as the R.C. and r.c.christian pseudonym, is our hat tip of a clue that Rosicrucians might have had a hand in building the Guidestones, as these hints reflect their rose and cross symbolism. What unites these 2 secret societies is their practice of working through both symbol and ritual. Any mention of Masonic or secret societal influence in government or popular culture is typically dismissed as the ramblings of a crazy conspiracy theorist. But here we have the Guidestones, concrete proof of their influence, with their symbols glinting back at us from these stones. Thus, followers of the occult are attracted to this site, much to the displeasure of one local Elberton minister, who expressed fear that cattle or even a person would be sacrificed on top of the Guidestones. His worries predated the actual stain on top of the stones.
Now, I wasn't aware that there were stains on top of the stones. It's very interesting finding. Now, if they were doing some kind of sacrifices on these stones, how the heck are they getting up there? Just interesting. Another thing I find interesting is why they destroyed the entire monument on the exact day. But anyway.
Which might very well be an intentional splatter of paint or some kind of mildew problem. But nonetheless, every year all sorts of occult types visit the granite capital of the world to view this monument, which is interesting because granite is magnetic. and occultists are drawn to this area like they have been to Stonehenge or even the Egyptian pyramids, fueled by the belief that these sites are connected by ley lines or links between the aforementioned landmarkers said to contain electromagnetic energy, like landmarks on an energy highway of sorts. While free
Now, if you watch my show Tuesdays on Patriot Soapbox, you'll know that I've been trying to put together a show discussing ley lines, but ley lines are believed to be energy lines, grids that outline the entire world. And some of the most fascinating structures that we know of, like Stonehenge, and I believe the Washington Monument, all kinds of different structures are built on or around ley lines, believed to perhaps because of their they're believed to be higher energy centers, perhaps places where vortexes or something can happen. So interesting.
Freemasons did take credit for building the Guidestones, the documentary Dark Clouds Over Elberton actually tracked down two individuals whom they believe were behind the R.c.christian pseudonym, the misspelling of which, at least on the explanatory tablet beside the Guidestones, spells out untarnished conspiracy. Obviously, major spoilers ahead. Discovered through saved letters in banker Wyatt Martin's old IBM computer case, filmmakers identified friends Robert Merriman and Dr. Herbert Henze Kirsten of Fort Dodge, Iowa, as the sponsors of the Guidestones. Robert worked at a publishing company and was presumably the individual who published Common Sense Renewed. Dr. Kirsten, whose last name is German for Christian, was a Catholic medical doctor who was ironically very passionate about birth control as a means of population control. A little bit of digging revealed that Dr. Kirsten was allegedly a eugenicist who wanted to create a measurement tool for race supremacy. And while that documentary wrapped up the mystery very nicely, what was most interesting to me about this alleged discovery was not the individuals in question, but that Fort Dodge, Iowa, where the Cardiff Giant, one of the greatest hoaxes of the 19th century, was carved from stone, just so happened to be the home of our Guidestone boogeyman, R.c. Christian. Which brings us to the final part of this video. Have you ever seen a card trick? The magician relies on audience participation in order for the trick to work. If the audience learns how the trick is done, it's no longer emotionally captivating, entertaining, or really even interesting. The magician has no power. Such is the case with the Georgia Guidestones. A mystery always holds sway over those who don't understand it. It doesn't matter who built the Georgia Guidestones. There is no Guidestones boogeyman. Because the punchline is, American taxpayers fund the Georgia Guidestones. The land that the Guidestones is on is owned by the government. They want you to talk about the Guidestones boogeyman. This monument is the work of the same mind control cult who pushes their agenda by means of deception and distraction. They leave a never-ending trail of bread and circuses for those they view as human cattle. Cattle who will be herded into divisive debates over American Civil War monuments being torn down, while the Guidestones are left untouched. And these cattle will be prodded into discussing and accepting the depopulation agenda through programming, in the form of the latest Marvel's Avengers movie. The goal is for the cattle to love their servitude.
Now, one thing she did not mention in this video is this slit here and another hole in the Guidestones. One of them, anytime you look through it, will show you where the North Star is. Another one will align perfectly when it is December 21st. I believe the winter solstice, the longest day of the year. So in essence, what people theorize is that it is a compass and a map, a calendar. So if, say, all of creation somehow was destroyed, people would be able to start life again using these two very important instruments. Because for many, many years, during and before biblical times, um, they looked to the skies to know when it was time to plant their crops, when it was time to harvest their crops. That's what they used, was astrology. So I think that's a very, very important part of the Guidestones.
The goal is for the cattle to never dream of revolution. To tell you how this trick works, to name this secret, is to destroy it. No dynamite or vandalism necessary. Thank you all so much for watching. You know, I always look forward to your comments. Please subscribe and consider supporting my channel on Patreon. Bye.
So I don't know who she is. I would subscribe to her channel if I did. Now, I wanted to also share something else that came up. Just a real short piece from Mark Dice's show that he did. Now, Mark Dice has been reporting for many, many, I think 2005, he said, on the Georgia Guidestones. So he was reporting that it had been completely destroyed, but I wanted to bring this up.
Do something like that. There's a lot of information about the Georgia Guidestones that most people don't know. The man who commissioned them to be built, R.C. Christian, an admitted pseudonym, also published a book shortly after they were finished and sent copies to every member of Congress and opinion leaders detailing his plans for the New World Order. I was able to get a copy probably 18 years ago, and I just checked on Amazon and even eBay, and there's not a single copy listed. It's extremely rare. But in the book, he talks about transhumanism and how he wants to warm the hearts of humanity to global rule. But as you know, the left calls people who disagree with their plans conspiracy theorists, hoping to silence them and get them out of the way so that they can finish the job. If you read some of my old books like Inside the Illuminati, then you would know all.
Okay, so that was the only part I wanted to bring up because I happened to have found online a copy of said book. And I wanted to start each day. I think there's 9 or 10 chapters, and read a chapter to you. Now, the names of the chapters are Common Sense Renewed, The Georgia Guidestones, Cultural Evolution, Guiding Human Production, Suffrage in the U.S., Prospects for the American Economy, Proposals for Improving Our Society, A Beginning of the Age of Reason, On Revolution, Reflections on Russia and Religion, On the Conversion of Russia and Two Make Partners of Rivals. Pretty interesting. If you look, here's the preface. I wanted to look, it's not on here. At one part, it says number 96 of 100. So that usually, if you buy a print or something, you'll get that so you know which copy you had. Now, one thing I also wanted to share with you really quickly, 2 things that I also found on this site that I was on, that I found of interest, and they're very just quick shorts. But I wanted to share them with you because I thought they were thing is tell me right now, I can't find it. This one right here.
Thing portals, and this is what popped up. Me about this, so I know I need to make this video. So let's get it. So yesterday I was just seeing that my Cern video has been getting a lot of views, a lot of attention. All praises to the Most High for using me as a living, breathing vessel to bring out this truth. But I've been seeing a lot of people refer to Stranger Things. Now I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, I've never really watched Stranger Things. Well, to come and find out, I never really watched it at all. But I could recall the little bit I have seen of it. I do remember seeing portals. So you know, I just searched up on YouTube, Stranger Things portals, and this is what popped up. But mistake me if I'm wrong, but doesn't that look like the machine in the CERN facility? And looks like a resemblance. And didn't CERN just announce what they were doing on July 5th? Check it out.
The restart of the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, and put the 5th of July into your calendars, because this is the day when the Large Hadron Collider will start colliding particles at the highest energy we have ever done before.
One of CERN's goals is to recreate Jacob's Ladder and to reopen a portal that is said to have existed between Earth, Mars, Venus, and Saturn when the planets were in alignment many years.
And what a lot of people don't get is that many of these TV shows, many of these movies are telling you the truth. It's called predictive programming. They literally have to tell you what they're gonna do before they do it. I don't know if a lot of you guys watch anime, but haven't you guys seen Attack on Titans? Attack on Titans is about when man-eating titans first appeared 100 years.
I'm not going to get into the part on anime, but you did see the scientist himself saying what the goal of CERN is. And I think it's really strange that our news cycle right now is kind of exploding with all kinds of different news about things that are going on. Now, one more short I wanted to play for you before we're done is this. So it says, oh crap, go back. That's why I hate, hold on. That's why I hate these shorts. I don't know how to work them. All right, here it is as a video. So it says, I don't know the timing. It's not going to work. I have to put it on pause somehow. All right. Anyway, son of a bitch, if I can't get it to work, it's going to make me mad. I don't want it as a short. I want it as a video. There's the pause button. Okay. I don't know the timing. Now you can't even read it. But satanic buildings to be hit, God blown up by new. It had to do with CERN and the list of the buildings. And it mentioned various obelisks. And it happened that yesterday on the 7th, an obelisk was blown up, and I believe yesterday another obelisk was blown up. I don't know who this Judy L. Hubbard is, just certain things to keep your eye on. That's it for today. Stay tuned. I will be reading like a chapter of the book a day, kind of do a little series of it so I don't get tired of reading and you don't get tired of listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, on True Social, and that's it. Have a good day. Bye, guys.